What's up, everybody? Welcome to the MrMaple Show. This is the 10 at 10 for February 12th, 2026. We're excited to get this thing rolling, man. We got a great lineup of plants for you guys. I'm hanging out with my homie Corbin this morning. It's ice cold out here. We've been shoveling snow to get our greenhouses back open, but we're ready to rock and roll, man. Shipping's gonna start rolling out today. I'm just excited to be back at work, man. All this crazy weather we've been having lately kind of had me tied up in the house, man. I don't like that. I'm a man of movement. I like to get out and get things done. But today, man, we got a great lineup for you guys.
Yeah, I'm excited, man. The trees, man, they just don't stop coming, man. We got some heat lined up for y'all today. And starting off, you know, in some larger sizes, we got Manyo sato right here, guys.
Yeah, man, 3-gallon Manyo sato. Nice, good branching going on in this. Really cool. This is kind of your dwarf kind of variety of that variegated type. Beautiful, beautiful variegation on this. One of my favorite kind of styles because it really plays into the true like purple colors that I think a lot of people are trying to get to. You know, when you talk about the color purple, it's kind of always kind of a strange blend of either like reds and maroons and things like that, which you can get some of those tones on this, but in that summer month, you get these like dark purple colors with this green variegation around it. Really, really cool tree.
Yeah, you know, meaning village of 1,000 leaves. This one has, you know, each leaf is distinct like that name would, you know, hint to. But yeah, I like the shape of this one. There's a large specimen out at Buckholtz. It's a lot wider than it is tall. Tim got some nice footage of it. Kind of just before peak fall color, it was starting to change. Had some really nice oranges and moving to some reds and some yellows in there too. It was just beautiful. I love that kind of bi-color fall time effect that you get on the variegated plants. This is one that I think a lot more people should have in their garden.
Yeah.
Thinking about how those purples are going to pair with the yellows. They're going to look good against the greens. And yeah, it's just going to be a super dope tree that you're going to enjoy in your garden. And yeah, don't miss out on these super dope sizes we got right now.
Really great size to start with. I mean, a lot of times you're kind of needing a little bit of instant gratification. These got some good size on it. So when these things leaf out this spring, it's going to be putting on a beautiful display out there. I love how small the leaf is on this too. I think it would lend really well to like a bonsai or something like that. I'd like to see this done in bonsai form. Great container plant as well. Something you want to kind of keep up close where you can get up and really enjoy the beautiful foliage and the transition of colors this thing goes through. Absolutely cool tree. Definitely one you need to pick up. All right, guys, next one on the table here, we got a cool one for you. This is a MrMaple introduction from the Area 51. We had to get special clearance this morning just to get these out of that greenhouse, but here we go, guys. Acer Palmatum Bella.
Yeah, this is a super awesome spring interest maple, and that's going to leaf out, you know, a really nice pink corally color, and then slowly kind of transition to that green, and then into some nice fall reds.
Yeah, nice kind of tighter, denser habit to it as well. This is a dwarf variety. You're looking at like 6 by 4 in like 4 years or 10 years. I'm sorry, let me start that over.
Okay.
So this is going to be a dwarf variety, kind of shorter in stature than a lot of the other maples out there. This is going to be about 6 by 4 in 10 years. So definitely great, works great in those smaller gardens. I really love that kind of fit into any space. You know, I like when a tree doesn't limit you. You know, you can put this in a smaller space. You can put it out and be a specimen. This thing has some crazy, crazy spring colors. I really like that about a tree that can kind of give you that great show in the spring that we're all kind of anticipating, especially this time of the year. I get excited thinking about spring.
Yeah, me too, man. And also, whenever I look at this tree, I start thinking about other trees that are similar to it, like Taroyama. It has a very similar shape to that. It has similar kind of tight, dense habit to that. And I feel like Taroyama is like kind of a slept-on tree. That kind of type of tree in the maple world, I guess. You know, that a beautiful sharp leaves that you get with a nice dwarf habit is super nice. It's kind of like that middle ground between like Makawa and Shishigashira.
Right.
Which I think there's a lot that can be expounded upon in that sort of territory, and that's where we get Bella from. You know, I think It's a super cool selection that's going to pair nicely with a lot of those other Tarayama types, or, you know, with a Shishigashira, Makawa, kind of a nice transitionary tree that's going to give you some nice texture in the garden and some really nice color during the springtime.
Acer Palmatum Bella. All right, Corbin, what do we got up next?
Guys, we got a beautiful fire in the garden. Not just any fire, we got Pacific Fire and Acer Circinatum from the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, this thing is absolutely electric. You know, the claim on this is that it rivals some of the best coral bark varieties, especially in that Acer Palmatum realm. All right, guys, so this being an Acer Circinatum, you're going to be in those zones 6 through 8. A lot of what we're talking about today is those zones 5 through 9, but this particular tree is going to be more in those zones 6 through 8. So definitely take that in consideration if you're going to purchase one of these. But man, some great coral colors on this, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one of the easiest trees to pick out. Yeah. Even amongst like a sea of others, you know, coral barks, yeah. I think I could still pick out Pacific Fire. At Buckholtz, there's this beautiful, probably like maybe like 15-foot specimen.
Yeah.
That just has like this beautiful, beautiful bark going on. And I think that's aptly named. You know, I always lean towards these sort of like natural phenomenon, like fire or like a waterfall or, you know, the sunrise or something like that. And I just love the Circinatums. I think they have such a beautiful leaf. They have beautiful blushing that happens in like the spring and the fall times. And if this is something you can grow, I definitely would recommend it, especially with some of those other coral barks as well.
Yeah, really cool. I think what sets this apart too is you get that Circinatum leaf, which kind of gives you that full moon style leaf on it. It's a little bit larger leaf than what you get on like a Sangokaku, something like that. But it kind of stays in that same kind of lane there. It gives you that bright red coral color with some yellow fall color as well on top of that. So the contrast between that larger leaf, yellow fall color, and that bright red bark, it's hard to beat. This thing is absolutely beautiful. Like you said, man, you go into a greenhouse, we got a set of these in there. It's like, man, what is that over there? Everybody's kind of drawn to this plant. Really cool coral bark variety to add to your collection. All right, guys, next up on the table here, we got Pinus contorta Taylor's Sunburst.
Yeah, I think whenever people hear Pinus contorta, they think about, you know, Chief Joseph. But this is a tree that has really kind of snuck its way up into the high echelons of my list, especially for pines. I think that this is such a beautiful tree, especially during the springtime whenever it starts to candle. You start to get those little sunbursts that it's named after.
Yeah, it's really cool to get this more into that spring interest realm rather than being a lot of those yellow colors you get more in those winter months, like we get with Chief Joseph, something like that. So this is going to be more of a spring interest pine. I love that about it. You get some nice little red cones on there as well to kind of contrast with that bright yellow spring growth that starts to happen. This is kind of a smaller size tree as well. You're looking at about 6 foot by 2 foot and 10 years. So definitely a smaller size tree that you can fit in a lot of spaces in your garden. Great for containers. Really, really interesting. I love that this thing was found in Colorado, up in the Colorado Rockies. So definitely a cold hardy plant. You can get out there and enjoy this in a lot of landscapes.
Yeah, I think if you're a conifer collector, this is going to pair, you know, really nice with maybe some of those other trees that have that yellowing and the red coning.
Right, yeah.
I think that's awesome. You know, I think of trees like Push or kind of Rubra spicata and like those things that give you like these really nice red cones. And to have that play between that yellow is just so nice. Those little splotches of red and purple really do make such a big difference, especially in the winter garden, man. If you got some stuff hanging on, they might be a little brown by that point. But man, it's so nice. And I just love the lodgepole pines. I think that's something that I wish was a little bit easier to grow here in North Carolina. And it might be a little pickier in the South, guys. But who doesn't love a challenge every once in a while, man? Yeah. Especially when it looks this good. This is a treat you're going to want to pick up. Guys, Acer Palmatum yellow threads, man.
Yeah, this is an awesome Buckholtz introduction for you guys. I love when Talon Buckholtz introduces something, man, because he don't miss, right? He's got some electric list of cultivars, this one came in hot for me because I was looking for something kind of exciting to pair with one of my favorite linear lobums, the Punkill. And yellow threads, man, this thing gives you those thread-like leaves like you get with like Koto Noito, but this gives you a yellow color that kind of comes out this vibrant chartreuse green to yellow color, depending on where you plant this in your garden. But absolutely beautiful to compare with some of those other linear lobums.
Yeah, anytime I think of linear lobums, it's like that one episode in Seinfeld, man, where he's like, Serenity now, bro, where he's like screaming at the end, he's like, Serenity now! And that's like, anytime I just think of them, it's like I get put into like a Zen garden, man, where I just have a lot of these just kind of blowing in the wind and listening to the rustle of the leaves as, you know, and the wind chimes in the background. I think, and then having that paired with, like you said, other linear lobums that are going to give you different colors during the spring, summer, and the fall time. Can't really miss with any of those, especially if they're planted in kind of this companion gardening type deal. And I think it's one that's really nice. The linear lobums are pretty manageable trees for the most part. You know, they are kind of in that medium growth range. But yeah, yellow threads. You know, follow that red thread of destiny to MrMaple.com to pick you up a yellow thread today.
Absolutely. All right, guys. We got another great one for you here. We got an amazing conifer. We got Chamaecyparis lacaniana imbrica pendula.
Man, that's a lot of Latin right there, man. I'm just kind of drawn to this plant. I think it looks really nice with those thread-like kind of needles or scales. I don't know how you describe these. I guess they're still needles. But yeah, I just love that dramatic weeping habit that this one has. Super, super beautiful Chamaecyparis, man.
Yeah, I love that. The texture on this thing is really, really wild. Definitely one that could contrast so well with other things in your garden. You're not going to have anything else that's going to look like this. And you know, the growth habit too is going to be different. Each one's going to be a little bit different. And you can kind of play around with your height and width with this, depending on how you stake it, how you shape it along the way. Definitely going to be like a nice presence out in the garden, especially once these get established. Now, when they're young, you do need to kind of help them along with that staking process. But once they get established and kind of be able to hold that weight, it definitely looks really interesting the way it kind of creates these unique shapes in the garden.
Yeah, this tree, whenever I see it, I think of, you know, a vertical interest, something to kind of lead the eye down through the rest of the garden. I think of trees like Frankie Boy or Whipcord would pair really nice texturally. You know, you get a lot of similar textures, but this one's kind of the opposite of them. It's not necessarily like a big bush. It's more of like this weeping tree, which is really cool. I also think of some of those really kind of columnar Chamaecyparis nucatensis, like we talked about last week, Green Arrow, and the week before, that Sparkling Arrow. I think that those are really beautiful and would pair nicely with this. And yeah, I think that this is a tree that can be played with a lot. I think that the shaping is what can really take this tree from something that, you know, looks interesting to something that becomes that kind of piece for the garden. So
yeah, definitely an interesting conifer. If you're looking for some evergreen appearance out in the garden, especially something with a unique shape over time, I think this is a perfect choice for that. All right, y'all. So sometimes when we're doing these 10 and 10s, we think to ourselves, how can we make you happy? Today we got a nice one for you here. I think it's going to bring some smiles to everybody. We got Acer Palmatum Happy Corallinum.
Yeah, man. I'll be honest, dude. During the springtime, this one, I just lay my eyes on it, bro, and just puts a smile right on my face, dude. It turns that frown upside down. Even during the wintertime, man. Like, you know, I'm not saying you need to cancel any prescriptions or anything like that, man, but dude, this one is pretty awesome. A beautiful, beautiful spring interest maple.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what gets me happy about it, is because it makes me start thinking about spring. And that's one of my favorite times of the year. This is going to be one of those beautiful Corallinum types, going to give you electric pinks in those spring times. You can also get some little bit of flecking and some variegation in that. Now that is common with a lot of those different Corallinum types, but it's a little more consistent on this one. Kind of a smaller size tree as well. You're getting in that 4 to 5 foot range in 10 years. So I like that about this. It's going to be fitting in a lot of smaller spaces in the garden and give you those bright pops of color in a smaller space. So I love that about it.
Yeah, these are really nice sized 1 gallons too.
Yeah.
Really developed a lot of multi-branching on there. And yeah, with some of those dwarfs, don't be worried if you start getting some longer growth in certain areas, because as time continues, you're going to maybe wish that you kept getting that sort of growth, but things are going to slow down. The tree starts thinking about that secondary or that tertiary branching that's going on, and starts focusing that growth, making sure that can get above that kind of shade line that's going on. And yeah, I think pair this with some of those, maybe that yellow threads we saw earlier, man. That pink and yellow, that's a slept on color combination, man.
Definitely.
I think that it's weird how certain colors kind of blend together, like in your mind, I guess. I don't know if that makes much sense, but that pink and yellow, they kind of bleed into each other and just really kind of bring out even more colors in the garden.
Yeah, and I think that's a cool pairing too, because you're going to get both fall and spring interest kind of contrasting there. Beautiful fiery reds in the fall on this. Whenever it goes into those fall colors, really brightens up any space out in the garden, especially if you got it paired with other things like something like yellow threads, which is going to go those bright yellows. Be a great combination there. Really cool tree for you guys. I hope you guys are going to pick one of these up today.
Man, we got an awesome Acer Palmatum Burgundy Lime coming to you, man.
Woo, man, this thing does so well. The name fits it so perfectly well. Great burgundy colors on this. Dark burgundy colors you can get, especially in like those later in the summer months. That new growth flush is coming over top, and you get some nice lime green veining on this leaf too. So I like the color contrast that this one can provide, and a great leaf shape as well.
Yeah, definitely. This tree reminds me of other cultivars like Black Lace.
Yeah.
But this one kind of gives you some really nice lime inlays on the veins of the leaf, which I think is really cool. I look at this tree and I just think of some pairings I would enjoy putting up next to it. Obviously, since it kind of leans into that Black Lace kind of effect with the beautiful dark like purple and green, I'm gonna have to go with Anne Irene, man. I know that kind of rhymes right there, but I think Anne Irene really is kind of a rock star to pair up with these really dark colored trees, especially whenever they have kind of like a really sharp Matsumura style leaf. I think like that ruffled feel and like feather-like appearance of Anne Irene really brings out a lot of the texture. It'll bring out a lot of the color on this tree. Really beautiful.
Yeah, it's going to be kind of a mid-sized tree too. You're talking about 8 feet, 10 years. So a lot of different applications you can use this in your landscape. Bright, fiery red and orange colors in the fall as well. So you're going to get a nice contrast of color later in that season. Especially when you think about a lot of those pairings, like you're looking at Anne Irene, which is going to give you some bright reds as well. So really cool tree for you guys. Hope you guys pick one up today. All right, guys, next up on the table, we got a great tree for you guys. I know this one's going to go fast. Everybody's always looking for this cultivar. Talon Buckholtz introduction, Acer Palmatum Fairy Hair.
Yeah, man. This was a tree that just kind of lives in, I guess not infamy in my head, but just kind of a very memorable tree. First time I got to go out to Buckholtz, Matt and Tim, they wanted to do a cultivar highlight on one of these super-sized specimens that they have. They got one in the ground, and at the time, they had a gigantic one, I think was one of the very first grafts they ever did of it. And it was probably about 20 foot tall. And inside of a greenhouse. But yeah, just seeing this tree, just thinking like, oh wow, a maple tree can look like that.
Right.
Is very interesting to me. And I think one of the funniest kind of, moments that we've had on the MrMaple channel, Tim was describing this, and we were a little tired. Tim had drank a couple of energy drinks that day, maybe a couple more than they recommend. And he was talking about, making an actual comparison to at this leaf and the hairs on a real fairy, guys. I mean, that was pretty dope.
Yeah, this thing does have that crazy hairy-like appearance. I mean, the lobes on this are just thread-like. I mean, they look like strings, little tiny strings all over this tree. The texture is just off the charts, and I'm right there with you, man. When I went to Buchholz, it really helped me understand what this tree does in the long term out in the landscape. Now, the short term, it's definitely one that you want to spend some extra time with, admiring and getting to know, because, man, the growth is going to be pretty slow. You're looking at about that 4 to 6 foot range in 10 years. So definitely going to take some time to get out there. But that experience, I mean, and that journey is what it's all about, man. And seeing that one at Buchholz definitely makes it feel like it's going to be worth all that time and effort that you put into it. Now, this thing in the fall is absolutely amazing. Every time I think about this tree, the image of the Buchholz fairy hair out there just glows in my mind. These bright, fiery reds and oranges that you can get on this thing. Absolutely amazing. Now, this is one of Talon Buchholz's early introduction, one of the first group of trees that he kind of named and selected to get out there and propagate. So absolutely cool. I love the history behind this tree. Definitely one that you want to get in your collection and say, man, I got a fairy here. One of Talon Buchholz's first introductions out into the trade. Great container plant, great for those smaller gardens, those walkway plantings, things like that. It's great for this tree.
Yeah, guys, don't miss out.
2 gallons, man. 2 gallon fairy hairs. Woo! All right, guys. Next we got for you here, we got some beautiful 3 gallons. Now, these have been staked Acer Palmatum Ryusen.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite weeping Japanese maples. You can trace this one back to one of the most famous trees in Japan, Nakakomoto weeping. This is a seedling of a seedling. Maybe of a seedling of that tree. Super, super beautiful Ryusen. This is a hot button item that, whenever it first made its way from Japan to here, people could not get enough of it. And guys, now we got it in some nice sizes for y'all. Yeah, man.
Most of the time when you say weeping Japanese maple, a lot of people first think about a lace leaf style. This gives you that standard kind of palmate leaf, smaller green palmate leaf. Absolutely beautiful, man. This is one that I got early on in my collecting days. Always such a highly recommended tree, and for good reason. I mean, it always has such a unique shape to it. I love that about Ryusen. I've never seen any two that look exactly the same. Now, these are low graft staked, so depending on how tall you stake this is up to you. I mean, this is going to be something that you can play around with. It's very malleable in your landscapes. You can create a lot of different designs and shapes with this tree. I love that about it, man.
Yeah, I know. That's something I love about like the weeping varieties. Like, I just love how by changing the way that you like pot them, can give them like a completely different vibe. Like, because we stake them straight up and down, you might think like that's how you have to plant it, man. But with something like this, they're just adding a little canter to that to kind of just increase that kind of look at the structure where you actually get to see this, and then have that kind of everything weeping down, because as time goes on, the gravity continues. It will slowly start to move that direction. And that's something I implore you to think about whenever you're planting a weeping variety is, do I want this just sticking straight up and down, or do I want to kind of accentuate that weeping kind of habit? I think that's something that's really cool. Just changing the way you pot something can give something a completely different feel in the garden.
Yeah, absolutely.
Super cool.
Yeah, it has such a vast array of applications in the landscape. I always love the idea of this being planted on a hillside where it can kind of weep down and cascade and just flow, because eventually it's going to get so long that it starts to kind of spread over the ground there at the bottom. Kind of has a nice little skirt underneath it. So there's so many different ways you can use this. I love this thing's fall color too, man. Some like crazy orange reds that this thing gets, so it really, really lights up in the fall. And just a great tree for the landscape in so many different ways.
Well, yeah, guys, that is 10 of the 20 Japanese maples and other trees that are going to pop up on that 10 at 10 today. in about, you know, maybe like 30 minutes, probably, maybe 40 minutes. You know, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time is when the sale drops. Now, I see a couple people there like, well, the video dropped at 9. Well, we want to give you guys a little bit of head start so you can figure out the trees that, you know, you're wanting to get in on.
Yeah, just think of this as the sneak preview to that 10 a.m. drop. And the other way you get a sneak preview as well is if you sign up for that weekly email, you'll get an email early on that morning, and you can kind of go through the full list, kind of get your mind around what trees are on your list that you want to get. A lot of these you got to act quick because these sell out pretty quickly. There's such a popular demand for especially a lot of the cultivars we talked about today. So be prepared, kind of do your homework, get that email, go through it, make sure you kind of know what your game plan is, which trees are on your list. And we always appreciate you guys' business.
Yeah, guys, remember, take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.